Last night, Wyoming Catholic College had a rare opportunity. We had to cancel our lecture series this spring because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And our featured speaker last night was supposed to be the American poet Dana Gioia, who is quite a celebrity in the poetic circles that we admire. He's a formalist poet. He, in fact, was instrumental in many ways in the revival of formalist poetry, beginning at the start of his career back in the 80s and 90s. He wrote a famous essay called "Can Poetry Matter?" in the Atlantic that spurred a whole generation to rethink the centrality of poetry to American life. And he's also been chairman of the National Endowment for the Arts, an organization that he brought back from a pretty moribund state, as anyone would admit. Last night, he met with our students via Zoom, which doesn't sound like the perfect medium, but interestingly, it was almost more personal than it would have been had he lectured or read his poetry in front of a large auditorium. He was this close in terms of his presence on the camera. He responded to individual students because he could see their names, and he recited several of his poems. One of them was a song, Pity the Beautiful, another a ballad about his great-grandfather, Jesus Ortiz, and another was a poem that one of our students requested just toward the end of our hour-long time with him, called California Hills in August. And it was just a delightful hour. And in the exchanges afterward, he wrote this memorable line. He said, "Our hour together was just a small local meeting in the city of God. I mean that quite seriously. It is this invisible city that sustains us. It is a pleasure to see it actually becoming manifest for a moment." What a wonderful thing to say. There are a number of poems that Mr. Gioia did not get to read last night. And of course, out of his many, that's got to be the case. But there was one in particular that I thought I would read today, say a word about, just in honor of Dana Gioia and his visit via Zoom to Wyoming Catholic College. It's called The Burning Ladder. Jacob never climbed the ladder, burning in his dream. Sleep pressed him like a stone in the dust. And when he should have risen like a flame to join that choir, he was sick of traveling and closed his eyes to the seraphim ascending, unconscious of the impossible distances between their steps. Missed them mount the brilliant ladder, slowly disappearing into the scattered light between the stars. Slept through it all, a stone upon a stone pillow, shivering, gravity always greater than desire. This is a poem of a certain kind of wit and a certain kind of sadness. You always think of Jacob's ladder as the very image of mystical ascent. That's how Dante presents it in the Paradiso of the Divine Comedy, where it becomes the ladder by which the saints ascend contemplatively toward God. And Dana Gioia is here imagining it quite otherwise. Here is old Jacob. And this is something, of a premonition of his wrestling with the angel later in the story of Jacob. But as Dana Gioia imagines it, he never climbed that ladder. In fact, he was so tired of traveling that the stone that becomes the marker of this place where he had the dream is actually the pillow that he used to exert his sleep, if I could put it that way. Gravity is what's pulling him, and gravity is greater than desire. It's a little poem about the difficulty of really making that move into the contemplative life. Desire, right, the spirit is willing. Gravity, the flesh is weak. Somehow we keep being pulled back to earth and not even being able to conceive of what he calls the impossible distances between the steps of the ladder ascending to God. So Jacob slept through it all, a stone upon a stone pillow, shivering, cold down there on the ground. Gravity, always greater than desire.